Learn today's breaking news as tonight we have captured the signing of Denis Zakaria on a one-year loan deal with an option to buy. So I guess that's that. That is our DM secured in the window. And following that news, we have updates on Harvey Veld as tonight he signs a 4-year deal, as well as Michy Batshuayi being set to join Nottingham Forest. So deadline day has been intense, it's been mad, and I want to let you guys know very quickly, I am going to do a live stream later tonight around 11 PM, 12 PM. So if you guys are still up, then come join the stream. Let's talk transfer deadline day and getting straight to the video. So right now, let's discuss the latest news on Harvey Veld, and tonight, I'm very surprised by this. He signs a 4-year contract. Now, for a while now, I've been quite worried about the player's future. I was thinking, what is the actual plan for him? There's been no reports suggesting that there are going to be contract talks at all, so I guess we don't want to make things too aware or known, considering the fact that maybe lots of teams will be presenting offers to get ready to sign him at the end of the season. So this is big news, and in the end we got some context behind why he signed the deal to begin with, and it came down to this. He was offered a development plan as part of this deal, and then it's no surprise why he then signed the contracts. I think that's one of the main things for the past few seasons recently that hasn't been done. We didn't offer any development plan to Guy. We offered nothing to Livramento. The Livramento situation made no sense whatsoever. We tried to get him to sign a new contract with no development plan, and it was a really poor one, to be fair with you. And he kind of felt like, well, I'm getting no confidence that you really want me here and that I will have an actual career here. It seems like you want me out on loan, collecting loan fees indefinitely, and how is that going to help my career? So when he didn't sign the contract, he was then sent to the under-16s to train during last pre-season, hence why Southampton came through and signed for the money they did. Now, I do want to get one thing straight now. I'm not naive. I don't think that every single guy from Cobham has like a destined right to become a first team player for us, but there's one thing I want to see at least. If we sell these guys, we have to sell them for good money. We have to get good value for them. How many times have we sold top talents for peanuts that's not worth a valuation whatsoever? In this window, we've signed Chukwuemeka for nearly 20 million. We've signed Kasade for around 15 million. We're spending big money on teams elsewhere, and clubs are signing our teams for peanuts. Offering a young player a development plan doesn't necessarily mean that they're guaranteed to become first team players. It's down to the player's agency to make that happen for themselves, but at least it gives you that confidence that you can feel safe about your career here, and I think that's the thing that we need to do. And I like that Todd Bowley understands the significance behind this compared to the previous board we used to have. And as I keep saying, I like that Bowley cares about today and also tomorrow. So to end with things, Harvey Veld is now set to sign on loan for Hull City for the season, joining Xavier Simmons as well, who signed for them as well. So he will be getting a right wing spot at Hull City, which is one of the main things he's looking for. That's his best position, and when he does come back, ideally that's the position he wants to fight for to claim for himself. So good luck to Harvey Veld. This loan report video series I want to do is getting more interesting every single week now. If you still haven't bought this year's home kit, what are you waiting for? I'm your guy. You'll find links below in the description. Use my access code NINI10 to get 10% off your final order, you guys. The home kit for me is definitely a grower. You'll enjoy it. It's a nice fit. The collar grows on you as well too. And if you're interested in any of this year's training kit items, of course, use my discount code NINI10, and you'll find all of the relevant links in the description below. So right now, it's time to discuss the breaking news tonight, and let's talk Denis Zakaria, because today he signs on a 1-year loan with an option to buy. This option to buy is set at £26 million. It is not mandatory, so it depends on how well Zakaria performs for us. Now, if he does perform, there is a 5-year option included in this option to buy deal, so I guess that's very motivating for the player. And on top of that, we are going to cover 100% of his wages from Juventus, so I guess this makes sense. Earlier today, Juventus announced the signing of Paredes from Paris Saint-Germain, and today Zakaria took his medical in Turin, which he has completed now, and of course all the paperwork is getting signed, and he'll be travelling here now to get ready to join up with his new teammates. So I guess that's that, you guys. We end up signing a DM. It's a massive shame that we couldn't sign Alvarez in the end, or even Sangare, and it gets you thinking, why did we attempt to make moves for these guys so late? Surely it made sense to make these moves earlier. I mean, we're looking at how Man United spent so long trying to sign Anthony. Imagine if Man United tried to sign Anthony on the final day of the window, or tried to sign Anthony once the Dutch window closed. It just didn't make that much sense in the end. I thought there was a possibility, but Ajax remain adamant that they won't be selling him because they've made so much money in player sales already. So bitterly disappointing for Alvarez, who I thought would have been a very good player to have in the squad. But for me, that need to have a DM and midfield reinforcement is very important. Now that Billy Gilmour's left, now that others have left, now that others are injured at this point in time, a guy with authority, a guy with a physical presence, and someone to screen that back four is needed. And I guess this is why we turn our attention to Zakaria. We weren't the only ones. Liverpool also looked at him before they signed Arthur instead. We all know Zakaria from his times during Borussia Mönchengladbach, but the modern day Zakaria isn't necessarily the same player. So I guess now I want to give my thoughts and opinions behind this signing and why we got him to begin with. So I guess the main thing on all our minds currently is Zakaria injury prone? Have we signed the new Saul 2.0? It's a hard one to answer, you know. Like, a cynical part of me wants to say yes straight away, but I think for me there's also other pros to this that we're not necessarily thinking about that could be worth the calculated risk and gamble. Todd Boehly wants to sign quality. He's making efforts to sign big name players and guys that can really add to improve the team. I'm more comfortable signing a DM on a short-term basis, knowing the fact that in the next window in January or next summer, top targets become available again, and we have the spending power to get these guys. So, to begin with, is Zakaria injury prone? Now, since he suffered that terrible knee injury in like the 2020 season, wow, what a terrible injury. He was out for like 250 days, and for a guy that relies a lot on his physicality in the sense of like covering ground, his pace, his strength, all these factors, to lose that power on your knees doesn't help, and it means that you have to adapt, and it takes you a long time to rehabilitate yourself, and I guess that's the current journey that Zakaria is on right now. Now, at Juventus last season, I think he got between like 11 to 14 appearances for them. He scored on his debut. Of course, he was signed alongside Vlahovic, and I guess ultimately, he had a few injuries that crept through. But there's a difference between being injury prone and having injuries. Injury prone means it's like the same injury that's coming back to get you time and time again. So if he was getting non-stop injuries, he would be injury prone. But he's getting just like standard injuries. I think last season he got like an abductor tear. He had like a thigh strain as well too. These are typical injuries, but I guess for him it was kind of ill-timed in the sense that it was killing his momentum. And similar to Loftus-Cheek, he's currently in this space now where he's trying to get back to his full form, trying to feel the full capabilities and confidence in his body. And I think based on these reasons, I think he could be a calculated risk that's needed. Number one, we need a DM regardless. We need a DM. And Zakaria's shown that in terms of that defensive intelligence and that authority and that ability to win his tackles, he can still screen that defense. The reality at Juventus was simply this: he was sacrificed in the end. He was sacrificed because they couldn't sell Rabiot, who they assumed was going to sign for Man United. He was sacrificed because Allegri now wants to go for a regista over using a traditional midfield player, hence why Paredes was signed. Currently, Juventus have tons of midfield players, so he was the best one and the easiest one to move on at this point in time. And for us, he could be beneficial because, as I keep stressing, that DM is needed. I think Fofana and the DM are being looked at now to transition us to using a back four. Maybe that's 4-3-3. Maybe that's 4-2-3-1. I'm not too sure, but I feel like a back four is on the horizon now. Tuchel will clearly know about the player from his time in the Bundesliga, and I do think that he could find life a bit easier here compared to the system that Allegri put at Juventus, which, causes its struggles at times. Hence why De Ligt decided that he had to go in the end, because so in terms of maybe the passing stats and the progressive passes and stuff, it's not as high. But the reality is he is not a regista, so that's not as important. That will be up to the wide midfield players alongside him to drop deeper in those channels to help progress the ball up. He is there to screen that defense, to give us that presence behind to defend against counterattacks. And he still has that ability to keep the ball under pressure. He still has the ability to win his duels as well too. And you just want to hope and think now that in a new environment, new in confidence, and hopefully when he regains like the full confidence in his body, hopefully something can come back, because Zakaria was no joke back when he was making himself known in Europe. I mean, this guy was getting Vieira comparisons for fun. He was seen as one of the best defensive figures in the Bundesliga at a young age. I mean, the hype, the attention, the praise he was getting was well deserved because he was putting in top performances. And, as a DM, he does all the things you want to see. He can play in defense if you have to. He can play as part of a back 3-2. And actually playing under Rose, he did demonstrate certain capabilities, like being able to, have like positive body orientation to receive passes by midfield lines to help the team progress up the field. So he can do that. And I guess I'm going to have some faith behind this move. I'm going to have some patience to see what happens, because to be real with you, I had no idea this was going to happen. So I don't have strong definitive opinions. But for me, this is kind of like a low risk, high value type of deal. Not like Saul, because Saul has been passing now for a while and he didn't have injury issues that affected that. I think what helps Zakaria is what I keep stressing, is the fact that he is a defensive midfield player. So let's see how he does. Welcome to Chelsea Football Club. And to end things with the final story, we got news that Nottingham Forest are set to sign their 22nd player this season. That is literally 2 first 11s. I'll be very surprised if they stay up. I mean, normally when teams are spending like crazy bringing in new players, it gives them no time to gel and actually form team spirit, which is something you actually need. Regardless, Mitchie is set to move to Nottingham Forest. No confirmation as to whether that's a loan or a permanent move. Either way, he needs to get out the club, and hopefully he can have a good loan spell there. I think ideally, I love if he banged in the goals, not only for himself, but for the fact that he could potentially, take points off our rivals in the Premier League next season. Now, I'll always go back to that moment where we could have received a decent amount of money from Dortmund, but we could have sold him for a pretty high fee, but we priced him out of a move to Dortmund. We wanted £50 million. It was too much money for them. And I guess since then, he hasn't really been the same, because, to expect to just like keep succeeding on loans after loans, playing for this club, going to that country, and then that's going to take a toll on you. And I feel like he's not quite the same. So I hope that Nottingham Forest provides an opportunity at least. It won't be easy because they just signed Dennis and they just signed our knees. So good luck to Mitchie. Let's see how he does. And on that note, you guys, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. Come and join me for the stream later tonight. I'm EFC, this is Blue Lions TV. Catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.